Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to COS Indiana Live. How are you all doing tonight? Hope everyone's recovered and had a great Easter and recovering like I am today. I want to introduce to you, my name's Dale Parrish, by the way. I'm the State Director for Convention of States here in Indiana. My co-host this evening is Mr. Ken Kashuba. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Dale.
Ken is our state communications coordinator, and Ken has been acting as co-host now for, I don't know. I know I've kind of lost count. It's probably up to maybe 8 or 9 now, something like that.
You're getting closer. Yeah, this actually is number 19, Dale.
Holy caboose. Oh, I didn't realize it was that long. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Well, Ken will, in addition to co-hosting, Ken will be monitoring our viewer comments and any questions. So if you are viewing either through our Facebook page, that's Convention of States Indiana, or our YouTube channel, Indiana Patriots for Convention of States, you have the ability to make a comment or ask a question. So we would encourage you to take advantage of that. And Ken will be monitoring those comments and questions all through the evening. So Ken, you said you've been, this is number, was it 18 or 19 you said?
19. Boy, that sugar high really has killed you, Dale. I mean, it's messing up your memory. Yeah.
Well, tonight is our 145th broadcast.
Wow.
So I started this a couple of broadcasts ago when I realized how many we've actually accumulated. I'm going to try and count, put a number up like this on every one from now on. So, and when we get to 150, we'll do some sort of celebration. So
sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. Very good. 145. That's
a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Well, I just also want to mention before we get going here, our national website, conventionstates.com. And next week will be our roundtable meeting coming up on April 25th. That is same time, same place. It's just a little different format. We actually try our best to do a roundtable and discuss some pertinent issues, issues that you have told us as viewers during our polling segment, which Ken will be explaining to you very shortly. So be sure to tune in for the COS Indiana Live Roundtable next Monday, the 25th. Now, tonight, as far as, and this would apply to the roundtable as well, but if you have any questions or comments that you think of, maybe you don't want to do it on during the broadcast, but if you have any thoughts after the broadcast, feel free to drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Ken and I look at those emails every day, and we'll do our best to respond to you. And I just want to mention this. I hope I'm not confusing people, but starting on our roundtable now, we're going to provide a feature called a viewer call-in, where you as a viewer can call in and ask a question or make a comment during our roundtable broadcast. And that viewer call-in number, 317-426-8689. That's the number flashing across the bottom of your screen, 317-426-8689. Now, that feature is not available on this broadcast. That's just for the roundtable right now. You think we got all the bugs worked out on that, Ken?
I believe so. It's been an interesting endeavor to try and get that up and working. It's, we're not the big studios where we just push a few buttons and it works. So
Yeah, that's for
We've had to
sure.
tie a few things together, and it's been interesting. It's technology.
We're getting close, though. We're going to get it done. We'll get it
I
done.
think we'll have it this time. Yeah, 25th.
Well, so far this year, Ken and I on our broadcast, we've been dealing with the concept of what action can I take in convention of states. So, what action, what activism, what act of activism, I guess is a better way of saying it. What action can I take in convention of states? And Ken, what I'm learning, what I have learned since we've started this year, I've learned that being an activist can take many different forms, and it can be you can be in a leadership role as a district captain, or a communications coordinator, events coordinator, or you can be an activist. It also takes the form of attending rallies.
You could be a telepatriot on your couch and make phone calls.
Telepatriot, that's right, making phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So testifying in front of congressional committees.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes many forms, and it's whatever best suits your individual talents and
It's using those God-given talents, right?
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing now, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight, because what we're going to cover is another one of those ways of being an activist. And last week, we talked to a podcaster here in Indiana, one of our Convention of States supporters who does a podcast. Well, we're going to do another podcast tonight, and that is with Paul Phillips. Now, those of you that have followed our live stream for some time, you will recognize the name of Paul Phillips. Paul has occupied and does occupy a number of different roles in Convention of States, but one of them is that of a podcaster. And we're going to talk to Paul tonight, just like we did last week. Why he got into this, how he got into it, and some background on that. So I think you're going to really enjoy that. And if we have if time permits, we'll take a break after Paul, and we'll do a contributor segment from Rick Lyon called The Lyon Truth. So that's time permitting that we'll do that. Then the last segment will be what we call Raise Your Voice. This will be the polling section. And Ken, I'm going to let you explain this particular segment now, if you would, please.
Yeah, I'll bring up I'll share my screen here and bring up a QR code that we use, and most people at this point are familiar with QR codes. Dale being the exception most of the time.
Yeah, that doesn't include me. It doesn't.
Right, but most of you will be familiar with this QR code, and there it is on your screen. Basically, if you get your smartphone out right now and just go ahead and scan that, you'll be all set for our poll, which will come up, as Dale said in the last segment. And if you don't happen to have a smartphone, or you're still using one of those Blackberries or something like that, you can go to slido.com and then enter the number 251880, and that will get you in as well. And you can participate and play along with the questions we've got for you tonight. And again, those questions help us develop future programming for the roundtable. So that's the QR code, and if you don't catch it right now, don't fear. We'll put that. It'll be on the side of the questions, so you can always grab it when we start the actual polling. But that's the one for tonight, and we will be able to basically get you started with that. So,
all right. Thanks, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's get going here. And as I mentioned earlier, our theme is what action can I take in Convention of States? And we're focusing on Convention of States basically and activism. So as I mentioned earlier, tonight we're going to have another Convention of States supporter that's involved in podcasting. We actually have, might mention to you, Ken, we've got two more. One of those being you and I.
Mhm.
The
Podcast.
audio portion of our roundtable meeting, we also then post as a podcast. So, we're kind of podcasters, but it's kind of, we're not. It's kind of an offshoot of what we're doing right now.
It's called multitasking, too.
Yeah, that's it. But we have another. There is another young lady in our state that is a podcaster. She actually does a podcast along with a gentleman out of Kentucky, and so that's going to be very interesting. We'll line her up. She's kind of still in the learning process on this, so going to give her a little time to get her feet on the ground, and then we'll feature her in an upcoming live stream. So
we're meeting lots of interesting people, that's for sure.
we are. I did not know these individuals. Well, I knew about Paul. Paul and I go way back, but these other two people, I did not know that they were involved in this, and I suspect that there's probably others that, and hopefully we'll uncover them as we go along too. So anyway, that's what we got coming up, and we're going to talk tonight, as I said, with another podcaster, and the young man that we're going to be talking to tonight is Paul Phillips. He says his current title is Past States Regional Director Team. Now, I don't know if you think he's the entire team, or do you think he's just a member of it?
Hard to say. With Paul, he's probably got quite the following. So I'd say he's probably just the leader of the group.
You think he is?
Okay. Yeah, probably so. Probably so.
Well, let's bring him on and ask him that question right now.
All right.
Okay? Hey, Paul.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good. So you heard us talking. Are you the whole Past States team, or are you just a member?
No, I am a member of the team, and there are 5 of us on the team.
Okay. All right. We knew that. We just give you a hard time. Well, Paul, good to see you. Paul, like I said, Paul goes way back. Well, not that far back, but a few years. Paul and I, Paul started shortly after I had started with Convention Estates, and met Paul at a town hall meeting that I was doing at that time at a local library. And Paul came in and introduced himself, and just been a great trip with Paul ever since. So Paul, and for those folks that have followed our live stream over the past few years, Paul has been on before, and I've had him do this many times, but I thought I would once again ask him to do this, especially for those that maybe have not seen him before. But Paul, tell us your Convention of States story, if you would, please.
Sure. I first heard of Convention of States back in late 2016. I was just driving along in my truck listening to Glenn Beck, and this guy named Mark Meckler came on, our president of the Convention of States, and he described the movement, and that immediately caught my interest. So I went to the website, did all my research, signed the petition, applied to be a district captain, and went from district captain to region captain, to legislative liaison for Indiana for a while, working on Dale on your state director team. And then most recently I moved to the national team as a part of the Past States region director team.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Paul's moved around and wore a number of hats, and so doing a good job for us. So, well, Paul, tell us about your podcast. I hope I got this title right. The
Yeah.
Free to Be Free podcast, right?
Yeah. So the Free to Be Free podcast, I put that together about the time I was a district captain and trying to organize some district meetings. And basically in conversations with you, Dale, kind of thought maybe a podcast would be a more efficient way to spread the message of Convention of States. And that was how it got started.
Okay. I distinctly remember, Paul, conversations that we had. I distinctly remember one conversation we had when we were holding a town hall meeting at a local library, and you and I were the only ones there.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most productive meetings.
But yeah, Ken, if you've experienced being a district captain and holding town hall meetings, you have to have experienced holding a town hall meeting and no one shows up.
Mm-hmm. But as Paul said, it became a very productive meeting because you two had no distractions. So,
Yeah.
That evening, Paul was the only one that showed up for the meeting. Mm-hmm. And I distinctly remember the conversation we had about, I know I was thinking about doing some sort of live streaming, something virtually. And I remember you talking about doing a podcast. So, yeah, that was, and what year was that? Would you say, Paul? 17, 18?
2017.
17.
Well, it's a good thing that from that experience, both of you pressed on and look where you're at now. So
yeah.
if you had given up at that point, where would we be?
Well, Paul, I don't think I've ever asked you or had the need to ask you, why did you choose the name, the Free to Be Free project?
Free to Be Free. So it's supposed to be a reminder that as Americans, we can be free. We're free to be free, but that implies we have to choose that. So we're free to choose our freedom, and sometimes that means we have to assert it or fight for it.
Was there something in particular that stimulated that thought, or that something you read, or someone said something that triggered that, or?
Not that I can think of. It's just a play on that freedom thing, and that we're meant to be free.
Okay, all right.
So that long ago, Paul. I mean, you say it was 2017? Did you say, or?
Yeah.
Were you already well alerted to the fact that there was looked to you like there was kind of a movement against our freedom, or you felt that the freedom was on a slide there, or
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Okay. Now I know you said you started it around 2017, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Where can someone find your podcast?
Well, my main hosting service is a podcast service called Podbean. So the web page for it is Free to Be Free. That's all one word and it's all letters. No fancy using the number 2 in place of TO. So it's freetobefree.podbean.com. Easiest way to find it is you also find it on Apple Podcasts, on the Google Play Store, Spotify, and you can just search for Free to Be Free or my name, and I'm sure it'll pop up.
Okay, I just created this. Have I got it right?
Yes, sir. That's it.
freetobefree.podbean.com. Is there a particular reason you went with this particular?
Oh, with that service?
Yeah.
So yeah, I naively thought, hey, I'm going to start a podcast, and I had no idea what that involved. And in fact, if I'd known what it involved, I might not have started it. Because you have to figure out where you're going to host it. And I found Podbean. I just researched a number of them, and I like that one best. You have to figure out the equipment you're going to use, get a high quality microphone. What software are you going to use to record the episodes and edit them? And then you need to get some graphics for a logo for the podcast. And then I figured, wait a minute, I need a theme song. So fortunately, my son's a musician, and he wrote and composed and recorded the theme song. So there's a lot more that goes into a podcast than you may realize.
I'm really glad you went over that, because that is so true. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into doing these live streams than people see.
Right.
And the same thing with your podcast. And you're strictly you don't have guests. You don't have
right. That's not part of the format that I planned out.
Right.
Interviews or things like that. Although I've used pre-recorded segments of some people to help reinforce the points I'm making, but never a live guest.
Okay. All right.
So yours is more research and educational by focus.
Yeah. It definitely is. I think Dale's going to ask me about some of those things in a minute, but I don't want to get him out of order. I see he's asking about the podcast reach right now.
Right.
So I have done 25 episodes, which to me doesn't sound like a lot, but I think it's above average for podcasts that have been started on the statistics I've seen.
Really?
In the lifetime of my podcast, there have been 2,600 downloads, and you get all kinds of statistics. It's been downloaded in 40 of the 50 states, and it's been downloaded, this surprises me, in 30 different countries, on 6 continents, every continent but Antarctica. So I don't know why somebody in Japan or Brazil wants to listen to my podcast, but maybe an expatriate American, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, it's surprising the reach that something like this gets.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, a little while ago, a year or so ago, I asked certain individuals in our organization to become COS Indiana Live contributors. Kind of a play on a Fox contributor or, some newscast contributor type individuals. So I asked certain individuals to become contributors, and I asked Paul to do that. And Paul came up with the Free to Be Free moment.
Now, to be fair, Dale, this was your idea, was the name of it, to change podcast to moment.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Did you hear that, Ken? It was my idea.
That's 145 episodes. I'm glad that you came up with that one, Dale.
I don't remember actually saying that, but if you say so. Well, I want to take a couple minutes here. Paul created one of these for us. They're just short segments, and Paul created one especially for this live stream tonight. So I want to go ahead and play that, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Have you ever watched your federal and state legislators in action? You can watch a federal congressional hearing on C-SPAN and a state legislative committee meeting on your state legislature's website. If you watch closely, you'll notice some of the differences. First, your state legislators actually legislate. They discuss bills and amendments. There's a real legislative process at work. You won't see any of this at the federal level. There you will find a lot of speeches, pontificating, and criticizing the other side of the aisle. Any witnesses at a federal hearing are there primarily for the members of Congress to use as a foil for their grandstanding. I would characterize a state legislative session as legislating. I would characterize a federal legislative session as campaigning. The other difference you will notice is that in a state legislative hearing, there is often public testimony. You are free to give public testimony just by showing up and signing in to testify. You won't see such public testimony at a federal legislative hearing. That's by invitation only. What do you think would happen if you showed up to testify at a federal legislative hearing in the same way you can at a state legislative hearing? At a state legislative hearing, you would be allowed to testify and then go home. At a federal legislative hearing, you would not be allowed to testify and possibly be phoning home for bail money. I recently had an opportunity to interview Indiana Senator Mike Braun, who had previously served in the Indiana General Assembly. I asked him about the differences in his experiences in the state and federal legislature. Let's listen to what he had to say. Now, I'd like to take you back a little bit to your experience in the General Assembly and then think to your experience in the Senate. I'm curious to know, what are some of the main differences you see between serving in a state legislature and the federal legislature?
I was on Ways and Means, and everything that we spent money on went through committee, and it was done tediously and efficiently. And when we came up with a budget, the top line was always going to be less spending than what we took in. And we believed in rainy day funds and cash reserves. Those two words haven't been in the dictionary here in probably 40 years. And the big difference is we took it through regular order, and now this biggest business in the world, 10 to 12 times the size of Walmart, to get an idea of how big it is, we'll get a huge bill dropped in our lap 2 or 3 days ahead of time that were crafted behind closed doors. I'm an appropriator now. I can't believe they made me one, because they never like my recommendations of living within our means. But I'll keep saying it. So it's different. You by process and by statute and or amendments had to be responsible fiscally. Here, there's none of that.
So here's the point I'm trying to make. Our state legislators are an important part of the U.S. Constitution. The founders trusted them with a number of important powers. That is why they are required in Article 6 of the Constitution to be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Among the powers the founders granted to state legislators are setting the parameters for elections, choosing electors to choose the president, and, prior to the 17th Amendment, choosing who represents their state in the Senate. These powers are referred to as federal functions. So when I compare the day-to-day operation of the state and federal legislators, it is no wonder that the founders trusted the state legislators with their most important federal functions in Article 5 of the Constitution. The power to propose amendments, a power which is also granted to Congress, and the sole power to ratify amendments. No amendments make it to the Constitution without the approval of 3/4 of the state legislatures. I believe that a critical comparison of our current state and federal legislatures proves that the founders rightly entrusted the state legislatures with the most important powers granted by the Constitution. This should not be a surprise, because first and foremost, our founders were state legislators themselves. Therefore, I would consider our state legislators as the cornerstone of our Constitution.
Very educational.
Everybody on? Okay.
I believe so.
All right. Well, that one contained a little bit of everything, Paul. That was
not to put you on the spot, Dale, but that's actually not the one I prepared for tonight. That was the previous one, but it was one of my favorites, and that that actually, the audio version of that is my most recent podcast episode. So it's a good example
Okay.
of
All right.
what's covered in the podcast.
All right. All right.
We
Okay.
got a couple of things here, Dale. I want to kind of bring up. First of all, just Todd Hostetler just said nicely done. He enjoyed that. So
That is a new name. Boy, we're getting some new names, Ken.
yeah. Well, Todd, it's good to have you aboard, and thanks for the thumbs up to Paul. And we have one other question. I think I'll throw at Paul. One of our regulars here, Susan Lyon, wants to know. They have friends in Ohio who want to get involved in COS. They want to know who they can contact. I don't know why they threw that exactly at you, Paul, but I guess they figured all the positions you hold, you would know exactly.
I should know the answer, right? The best thing to do is go to conventionofstates.com and sign the petition. And then you can click on the Take Action link and take a look at some of the positions available and just put your name in, apply for one. Somebody in your state will then contact you and get you involved on the team.
Good answer.
Good. Okay. Well, Paul, we wanted to touch on what's your objective, what's your focus on your podcast.
So this podcast to me can be of a few different types. Some can be what I'd call timely. So they're very frequent and they focus on current issues. The other end of the spectrum to me is timeless. So the episodes are intended to be things that you could listen to a year or two from now, and it would still be relevant material. And I try to tend more towards the timeless side of the spectrum. It's kind of like the difference between a newspaper and a magazine or a periodical. So a newspaper, you're going to get short articles that are current content. A magazine is going to be a little more in-depth analysis, and that's what I strive to do. What I talked through in that the video we just saw, I referenced the Constitution and actually some research to know those are called federal functions and how that works. So I always tried to do some deep research before I put together a podcast. And I include all of my research material in the show notes. So if somebody wants to go through and read, and I'll warn you, sometimes it's a 50 or 60 page research article. But if somebody wants to dig that deep into it, they certainly can. So that's what I had in mind when I started the episodes. And I've tried to follow that format.
Okay. All right. Well, final question. If someone else is thinking about doing a podcast, what's your recommendation to them? Don't do it?
No. I would say push ahead and do it anyway, even though once you start, it's going to seem like a daunting task.
Right.
And once you think you got it figured out, there are a couple more things you got to do. Just do it anyway. But probably most importantly is put some time in up front to really think through what I just talked about. What kind of podcast do you want to do? What do you want the format to be? Do you want to interview guests? Do you not? Do you want to do deep research or do you want to do timely issues? So just figure that format out up front so you know what you're trying to produce.
Okay. Yeah.
We got one more question for Paul.
Yep.
One more question for Paul. It's what past states is Paul responsible for?
So I'm part of the past states team. So I guess I would say all of the past states. Our team is there to support all of them. Quite honestly, we're mostly focused on the first 15 that we passed. These last 4 that we passed recently this year, they're still kind of in transition, being managed by the region directors they were with when they passed. So I get involved can get involved in just about any of the states that have passed.
Actually, we started out, this is due to growth. I mean, we started out with one regional director, past states regional director.
Mhm.
And then when we got, I guess it was when we got to the 15 mark, then they created, brought on another regional director and kind of split the states up. So that's maybe what she's asking about.
Yeah. So
But
I'm sort of,
you go across the board over all of them,
yeah,
right?
I'm sort of an assistant or a support person to the two regional directors.
Right.
So each regional director is focused on their bunch of states, but either one can call me in to help out with their states. So
hopefully, real soon we get so big we'll need a third regional director for past states because we have so many of them, huh?
that would be a great problem to have.
It would be. It would be. All right. Well, we've gone way over, but that's okay. We figured we would. So, Paul, Ken, got any other comments or questions or anything?
Not really. Not really. Appreciate everything that Paul brings to the table. It's he's always a wealth of information, and he never minds when you tap him for more gold.
Right. He's always helpful. All
Yeah.
right. Paul, thank you very much, my friend.
Thanks, guys. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, Ken, I'm going to go ahead and do this the Lyon Truth segment since we
get
skipped
that
over
in.
that last time. Okay.
Yeah, get that in.
All right. So we're going to do this. We're going to take a little break here. This is the
Commercial
as I
aspect.
mentioned, the Lyon Truth. Rick Lyon is the person involved here, and it's called self-governance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Lyon, and I'd like to talk to you about self-governance. In a perfect world, self-governance means there is no need for laws, police, prisons, courts, or legislatures, because every individual governs themselves as perfect citizens of a perfect society. This is the highest ideal of true self-governance. Today, self-governance is only a seed of that ideal. Governments are usually ruled by the most physically or economically powerful. Might still makes right. This is the root of our struggle with socialism today. Our right to self-govern versus their right to rule by force. In the 1700s, because the might of the king became too much to bear, the greatest experiment in self-governance began. People became fed up with tyranny, and the escape route became America. Today, there is no undiscovered country to escape to, and our backs are against the wall. America was the first attempt at true self-governance. We are the hope of every person who aspires to the ultimate, and I believe, divine ideal of freedom by self-governance. We are the pattern and the teachers of self-governance to all the world. I worry that we have failed our responsibility as teachers by allowing our enemies to portray us as immoral, evil, and failing. Our accomplishments as a nation prove the benefits and desirability of self-governance over socialist oppression. And that threatens the power of socialists and why we have cancel culture. The good we have done must be erased in order to validate their false narrative. Self-governance benefits all people. It requires cooperation and planning as a group. It promotes appreciation of morality, the relationship between liberty of self and loyalty to others. Liberty is the ability to live our lives the way we choose for our own enjoyment and benefit. Loyalty is the appreciation of membership in a group. Morality is the tempering of unbridled personal liberty by loyalty to the group. Only when we learn the value of loyalty can we realize true liberty. These are indeed times that try men's souls, but that's the purpose of such times. Strong, noble, and experienced characters are forged out between the anvils of necessity and the hammers of anguish. Leadership and wisdom come from problem solving, not from a life of ease and tranquility. Self-governance first requires governance of the self. This is the meaning of government of the people, by the people, for the people. Notice that governing of the people is done by the people. This requires education of the people, action and participation by the people in government, and the desire to do good for the people. True self-governance begins with parents teaching their children morals, values, ethics, and responsibility as individual family members. It requires schools that teach children their civic responsibility as citizens of the group. It requires religious leaders and institutions to teach the true value and real purpose of each of us and all of creation. Freedom is a God-given right, and it cannot be taken away. It can only be given up by agreement, by fear, or by indifference. It is up to we, the people, to accept and assume the high responsibilities of representative self-government. When Abraham Lincoln spoke the words that he believed would be little known nor long remembered, he declared that we owe it to our dead to preserve self-governance. Let us commit ourselves from this day forward, especially as members of Convention of States, to preserve it for our children. And that is the Lyon truth. Thank you.
There you go, Dale.
Another good job by Rick.
Good job by Rick. I've got a couple of comments I just want to bring up because as most, if you don't know, some people will know that Susan and Rick are a team, and I wanted to bring up another example of how to get involved and self-governance. Susan mentions that they are having a Zoom signing party Wednesday night. So that's the first I've heard of a Zoom signing party.
That's I'm anxious to hear about that.
Yeah. So we'll have to find out a little bit how that goes, and maybe Susan can let us know how to point people in that direction. But
all right.
Yeah, so that was the comment there, and I will bring up our friend Dale Tipton brought up this from John Adams in 1765, basically. Just this comment from John Adams in 1765. I thought it was interesting after Rick's segment, so I thought I'd throw that up there.
Yeah,
for people to see. Yeah. So, go. Thanks, Dale.
All right. Well, on that note, Ken, why don't let's get the polling segment done, and we'll probably we'll see how much time we got left after that, but we definitely want to get this in. So
sure
take it away.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm starting off here, and actually, I'm gonna go ahead because of the shortness of time. I'm just gonna start into it. Marengo's got a little laryngitis tonight, so
all right.
We'll go right ahead with a slide here. Let people get their smartphones out and get that QR code into their phone if they're going to participate, or go to slido.com 251-880, and that'll get you to the poll, which we'll go ahead and bring up the first question to. Remember, it'll be on the side if you haven't gotten it by now. So our first question basically is, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 having no understanding, how familiar are you with Article 5 of the Constitution? So 1 to 5 is the scale, 1 having no understanding, 5 obviously having a lot of understanding or extreme understanding about it. Right now, we got a lot of people who really know about it. Few people say 3. It's kind of popped in a second place. So there's a few more studies that need to be done to get us up to the 5 level. But so far, that's pretty good, Dale. I think now we got a couple. Now we got 1 at the 20% level.
Well, I'm glad to see some others here other than 5s, because I find myself. I think I know Article 5 backwards and forwards, but once in a while I'll get a question, and it's something that I'm not real solid on with regard to Article 5. So there's
a lot to be figured out there, and
it's very short in length, but there's a lot there.
A lot there, and it's pretty well spread out here at this point. We've got 1 through 4 at 14% and 43% going the other way there. So.
Okay, good.
Interesting. Number 2. What component of the COS resolution do you find to be the most important? I'm curious to find out what people are thinking on this part. Is it the fiscal responsibility, or is it to reduce the size of the federal government? Or I don't know, it seems to me term limits are always up there. But are they all equally important or none?
Yeah.
Kind of size of the government. That's interesting. 67%. And there's term limits. Fine. I knew there was going to be some people out there that bring up term limits. That's one I hear a lot. So some interesting feedback there on those areas. Yeah, it's changing a little bit still. So yeah, interesting. So that's our number. That's our second question. We'll go ahead and bring up the third. And that basically is, rate your concern about federal and state control of citizens' liberty in the name of COVID-19 or any other type of crisis, to include closing schools, churches, small business in favor of big businesses, and the elite, favoring teacher unions over parents, et cetera, et cetera. It looks like we've hit a hot button there.
It's kind of unanimous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unanimous. I think the concern is high. It's one for high concern. I didn't really expect to find none to little concern. So
yeah,
there's some. Yeah. So, but some of the hot topics that are obviously plaguing our society today, and have people wanting to know how they can get involved.
Yeah. Good questions.
Those are our polls for the night, and
excellent.
That'll stay open for another day or two, I believe, and so you can still go to this if you've got it, and add your voice to the Raise Your Voice segment, and it'll be there. So we collect all these, and we'll share them at some point as well. So
okay, all right,
that's
all right. Good
for the night.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's a wrap for tonight. We got just enough time. I want to close out on with a message from Maringo Mike. You know this Maringo Mike guy that we have on from time to time. You know, he likes to get into the swamp. He thinks we really need to clean out the swamp, and he's got a recommendation for us as to how to handle
that. Yeah, I think he's finding it's bigger than he ever expected it. So that's why he returns so often.
Is that right? Okay. But now, before I bring him on, I just want to remind everyone our national website, once again, conventionofstates.com. That's where you go to join Convention of States. And that's the first step, is go to our national website, conventionofstates.com, sign in, provide the information necessary, and you'll become a supporter. And we'll give you more information on that at the roundtable, because there's some other things that you're welcome and encouraged to do. But I want to mention one more time, the roundtable coming up is next Monday evening, same time, same place. But on April 25th, it will be our roundtable discussion. So with that, Ken, let me bring up Maringo Mike here and let him kind of close us out here. Okay?
That'd be fine. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Maringo Mike here. Have you noticed more and more Americans are waking up to how deep the swamp really is? The curtain's been pulled back, and it's become evident there's a lot more work that has to be done. So, who are you gonna call to finish the job? Convention of States!
What a great message.
Yep. He wants to throw them out one by one.
He does. Good for him, Maringo Mike. All right. Well, Ken, I think that'll be it for tonight, unless you've got anything else you want to.
No, just to
Any
hope
other
everyone again. Hope everyone had a great Easter weekend. And
Yeah.
even though the weather's a little crazy here in Indiana, we're supposed to have 80 degrees by the end of the week. So you can get your bathing suit out, Dale, and tan up for the summer season.
We actually had a little snow this morning, Ken.
Oh, we had some snow. Yes.
Yeah, a little dusting. Yes.
Yeah.
It was all gone very quickly, but it's still kind of cold out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. So everyone, have a good evening, and thank you for tuning in tonight. And come back again next Monday. We'll do it again, and that'll be our roundtable meeting. So we'll see everyone next Monday evening. So good night, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night.